This is Gerardo Del Real with Resource Stock Digest. Joining me today is the president and CEO of Midas Gold, Mr. Stephen Quin. Stephen, how are you today?
Doing good. I'm down in Idaho visiting our project down here.
I understand it's been a productive week. You had some good news today. You announced, the news actually came out yesterday late, but you announced that permitting for Midas Gold, Stibnite Gold project continues to advance. This is actually the second straight month without a delay. So that obviously is a step in the right direction. You're also on track for the draft EIS to be published by the end of the year. And of course, we all know that the feasibility study will be completed following the release of the draft EIS. So a lot there. I'd love for you to provide some color, Stephen.
Sure, yes. So the Forest Service, who's our lead agency for the permitting process for our Stibnite Gold project, does an update every quarter, basically the first business day of each calendar quarter, so every 3 months, and updates the schedule whereby they anticipate the permitting process to reach various milestones. And as investors know, last year and early this year, we had a number of delays where we saw the project schedule extended as they were requiring more time to do their data collection, data analysis, et cetera. But we were encouraged in the July update. On the 2nd of July, there was no scheduled delay after having seen 3 or 4 before that. And then we recently just saw the October schedule updates on October 2nd, where, again, there was no schedule extension to the project process or the permitting process. So that means, we've gone a long time now without any further extensions to the process. And that's pretty encouraging to, hopefully we're past the delays and, we're looking forward to sticking to the schedule from here on in.
I mentioned it was a step in the right direction. I have to believe that there was a lot of pressure from the bipartisan group, the very supportive bipartisan group of lawmakers there in the state of Idaho that has been very receptive to the professionalism of Midas Gold and the way that you've gone about being transparent and advancing the project. I have to imagine that helped a bit, Stephen.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of attention on this project, for a variety of reasons. I mean, it's a big project, just even on a, U.S.-wide perspective. It's definitely, a significant project as far as Idaho goes, very significant as far as Idaho goes. And it's also unique because of the brownfield nature of the site, where we're prepared to take on the legacy history of the site and all the disturbance that is there and, clean it all up as part of redeveloping the site. So, there's a lot of, people watching this process very closely and, definitely interested in seeing it completed in a timely manner. And, they definitely communicate their perspective.
The one thing that probably ended up being a benefit to you and the company, Stephen, as a result of the delays in 2017 is that it put you in a position now where by the time you publish your feasibility study, which we're hoping will be obviously immediately after the draft EIS, which is scheduled, as I mentioned, to be published by the end of this year. The one thing that it helped Midas Gold with is it allowed for you to now have an environment where it seems like $1,500 gold is the norm. I know that the feasibility study is looking to work in the results of a number of project optimizations, an updated mineral resource estimate, and the results of optimized metallurgy and processing. All of those, I have to believe, are much funner to tweak with $1,500 gold as opposed to $1,250 or $1,300 gold.
Yeah, for sure, and it's better to be lucky than smart, should we say? That there is a silver lining to the permitting delays. In that, when we were looking, say, a year ago, we were looking at a 1,200-ish, 1,250 gold price environment, and that would have been less than the gold price used in the pre-feasibility study back in 2014. But now we're seeing, as you say, a gold price hanging around 1,500. It doesn't mean we're going to use 1,500 as the base case in the study, but we're probably, going to end up somewhere in the range of what we used in the pre-feasibility study. But we'll definitely be looking at upside scenarios, at higher gold prices, and the gold price is, significantly up, $250 higher than it was a year ago. And that's, that will have a significant economic benefit. So, as long as the gold price stays, where it is, or hopefully maybe even a bit higher, by the time the study comes out, that will obviously provide some clearer indications of the upside potential of the project. Which is very lever to gold, because there is a lot of gold in this project. And so the price affects a large number of ounces.
Definitely a lot of leverage there. You and I had the opportunity to chat at the Beaver Creek Precious Metals Summit. You've had an opportunity now to kind of take that in a bit. I know that you went to the Denver Gold Show immediately afterwards. Can you provide a brief recap on the momentum in the precious metal space and just the amount of interest contrasted with, the past several years where frankly it was all of us kind of, patting each other's on the back, telling each other it was going to be okay?
Right. Yeah, no, I think, you're right. And we definitely saw a sort of a more upbeat crowd. And I would say particularly in Beaver Creek more than Denver. I think Denver, which tends to be the larger companies, wasn't as upbeat as Beaver Creek was. And I think that probably illustrates where the investor interest is the big gold companies have, responded to the rising gold price. And I think investors are looking at the smaller gold companies and the pre-production gold companies and companies like that and saying, hey, actually there's more upside and opportunity in those companies. So there's a lot more attention there. We had a definitely packed schedule. I think between the two conferences, we had about 65, 66 meetings, over a sort of a 5-day period. So it was a pretty packed schedule. But, the one comment I would make is that, you still haven't seen the generalist investors really show up in force at these conferences. And to me, that says, we're not at the top yet. We're still seeing, the attendance dominated by private equity groups, by corporates, and by gold funds. And, the generalists were kind of noticeable by their absence. And, I think that's in many ways an encouraging sign, because as the gold price maintains its current strength or potentially strengthens more, those investors will get forced to have to come to the table. And, and they bring a lot more capital to the table, and that should provide continued upward momentum.
I'm looking at a 2-year chart of Midas Gold, and this is the opportunity, folks. We have $1,500 gold, a permitting process that gets smoother by the quarter, and yet the share price is still pretty much where it was 2 years ago, and eerily exactly where it was about a year ago. Anything you'd like to add to that, Stephen?
Yeah, I mean, it really, I think, maybe somebody will write a paper on this after we're all done, but, it's, there's that, famous Lassonde chart of the life cycle of a mining share. And you get into this orphan period or different names used when you're in the, the guts of the permitting process. The market just loses interest. And yet, you're just on the beginning, just leading up to the next major upleg, as you get permitted and into construction and development. And you've already got a project that's been shown to be economic by the pre-feasibility study that's already out there. So, your risk reward versus playing, say, the exploration end of the spectrum where, you're hoping somebody might find something that's economic. You have a company that's showing there's something economic, and you're at the point of turning that valuation around to it becomes a very desirable investment. And so it requires patient investors through that period because not a lot happens. There's not much excitement around permitting. But that suddenly turns and you've got your permits and you're on your way to construction and so on. And there's a major revaluation exercise that follows that. And these are opportunities to accumulate at the bottom of those cycles. And in fact, there's a U.S. Global paper out I was looking at today that's a slideshow, and they sort of drew circles as where the risk reward was most in the investor's favor. And they were drawing the circles over this exactly where we are at the moment. And, at the bottom of that orphan period. And so, it's frustrating when you are making progress and you're demonstrating value and you've got a rising gold price and, the stock should be, you believe should be much higher, but you just got to keep pushing your way through that process and, the revaluation will come when we're through it.
Well, you've done an excellent job of it, Stephen. Thank you so much for the update and looking forward to chatting the next quarter, hopefully.
Great. Thanks very much, Gerardo, for talking to.
Thanks again.